Hello, welcome back to Kimchi Rednecks. Today I'm in the kitchen and I'm going to be making a dish for you called Dak Galbi. If you saw our video that we did recently where we went out for a dinner and a movie date, we ate at a restaurant called Dak Galbi, and that is where we had this dish. We've had it before, but I decided after that I really wanted to make it at home. So today I am going to recreate a recipe from Sungkyung Longest, which we will put in the description for you so you can link directly to her recipe. So today we're going to make that. The very first step to that is going to be starting with the sauce. So we're going to make the sauce first, then we're going to chop up our chicken. So let's get started. All right, so the great thing about this dish is that you prep everything ahead of time. So you get your chicken cut up and marinated. You want to marinate it for at least an hour, but you can marinate it overnight. Obviously, the longer you marinate it, the more flavor gets into the meat. But you prep everything ahead and then you cook it on the table. So this would be a great dish if you want to kind of show off and do this for guests. This would be great, but I'm not showing off. Honestly, after watching the video again the other day, I really just wanted it again. Instead of going all the way out there, I thought, why not make it at home? The very first thing I'm going to do is add the gochujang to the bowl so that we can go ahead and get started. So we're going to want for the gochujang about 1.5 tablespoons. I'm going to probably use less gochujang than she uses. I say probably, but I'm definitely going to use less gochujang than she uses, simply because I know I can add more of that later, whereas if I put too much of it in, I can't take it out. So 1.5, and then the next thing we'll add is going to be our gochugaru. So the gochugaru is 2 tablespoons. So I'm going to start with about I'm going to be brave, okay? My bravery could end up getting me later, but I'll start with 1.5 because that's brave. I don't know that I can do all of 2, but 1.5 I think I can do. So we got 1.5 tablespoons of gochugaru. Then we're going to do 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. 1 tablespoon of soy sauce and 2 tablespoons of mirin. All right, got our mirin in. Then we're going to want 1 tablespoon of honey. See if I can find a clean, I still have a clean tablespoon. So this honey is one of our honeys that we got from stateside from a company called the Bee Folks. And this one is their killer bee honey. So I think that'll probably give a very wonderful flavor addition to the profile here. So I'm excited to try that. And then after the honey, we've got 1 tablespoon of sesame oil. And I've got just enough in there. I might open my new one over here and get myself just a little teeny tiny bit because that was a little bit short. All right, so 1 tablespoon of that. And then I don't typically grate our ginger just because we don't eat a lot of ginger, so I don't usually buy it fresh, but I do buy pre-grated ginger. So we'll put a 1/2 teaspoon of that in here. And then we're also going to be using, obviously, our pre-grated garlic. And this is going to be 7 to 9, so I'm going to go with 8. And for us, that's going to be teaspoons. So make sure I got all of that out there. There we go. And then I'm going to get my whisk out and whisk all of that together. So she says this sauce will last in your fridge for up to 10 to 15 days. And the longer it's in there, the more flavor it develops, which makes sense because sauce typically will get a little bit stronger and a little bit more depth of flavor after a few days. There you go. And so if you look, that is what our sauce looks like. So I'm going to chop up our chicken. So I'll see you in just a minute when we combine the two together. All right, so we have 2 pounds of chicken cut up. Obviously, I'm planning on leftovers for this. I'm totally stoked about having leftovers of this. So we've got 2 pounds. This is 1 pound of chicken breast and 1 pound of chicken thighs. And so we're going to add about 1/3 of our sauce. And I'm putting gloves on because I'm going to hand mix this. And I don't know that I want to have gochugaru and gochujang all over my hands for the next couple days. Probably would not be my favorite thing because I do put my hands in my face a lot. All right, so about 1/3. All right, so I'm literally just going to stick my hands in here, as you can kind of see maybe, and make sure that all of my chicken has this wonderful, delicious sauce coating it. Part of the reason I'm not afraid of that extra hot is because this is only going to marinate for a few hours before Chuck comes home. So we're looking at Yeah, 2 hours before Chuck gets home. So I'm not afraid that that sauce is going to kill me because I know that it's not going to be too terribly, I mean, it's going to be spicy, but it's not going to be too terribly spicy. So the other thing is I've already put my talc out. We have cheesy talc to go with this, and I went ahead and moved that and put that into water so I can soak that. And I need to chop up my veg still, but let me get cleaned up real quick and I'll be right back. Okay, now that we have our chicken marinating and I got a little bit of my counter cleaned up, I always like to clean as I go. So I still have dishes to clean, but at least my counter's a little bit cleaner, so it gives me a better amount of workspace. So the main veg that you're gonna have in there is gonna obviously be cabbage. So here's our cabbage. We're gonna have about 6 to 8 ounces of that. You want 1 medium onion. That's about a medium onion for me. Medium sweet potato. This is probably a little bit large, but we like sweet potatoes, so we're going with it. And I'll probably do half of this carrot because it said medium carrot. Obviously, we've had this talk before. Korean carrots are huge. So huge and tasty. So if I put a little more than a half, it's because we love carrot. The last thing we've got is green onion. And that green onion, as always, is going to be used partially for sprinkling on top once it's cooked. We got the green onion, and you want about 3 of those sliced. So I'm going to chop up veg and get all of that prepped. So by the time that Chuck gets home, all we have to do is get everything put in our pot and get ready to go. So I'll see you in just a bit. I've gotten all my veggies chopped up. So those are ready for when Chuck gets home. I've got our rice cake soaking, like I said. I've got our chicken marinating. Really all that's left to do is shred up some cheese. So I'll get that mozzarella shredded up because we're definitely going to have the cheese in there. And then I will wait until Chuck gets home. Once he gets home, we will get started. I'm super excited again to share this with you. And as always, I want to give mad props to Sungkyung Longest for this recipe, because without people like Sungkyung Longest and Mangchi and Chef Julie Yoon and so many others out there, people like me who love Korean and Asian foods would not have the ability to be able to cook that at home themselves. So they've done the hard work. They've provided me with recipes. They've got all of this information out there available so that I can cook this at home. If I leave Korea and I can't find a Korean restaurant that cooks it, I can go home and I can cook it and anywhere I am, as long as I have the ingredients. So I'm super thrilled and super happy to be able to use those recipes. Again, mad props to those who have provided that. For this particular recipe, it's going to be Sungkyung Longest, but I'm grateful. And I wanted to make sure that you guys understood that in no way am I trying to appropriate the Asian culture by showing you that I can make it. I really just want you to see how easy it is to replicate the recipes that they are giving you, that they're showing you how to do, and just how easy it is. If I can cook it, so can you. So again, thanks to Sungkyung Longest for the awesome recipe. Super excited to share that with you. We'll be back when Chuck gets home and we will start the cooking. So I'll see you in a little bit. All right guys, we're back. My cameraman is home, thankfully. Yay. So we're gonna get started on cooking dinner. As I mentioned earlier, the best part about this is you cook it on the table. So everything is already pre-prepped. All I've got to do is start adding it to the pot. So we've got a deep dish here. Let's get started. We are going to do 2 tablespoons of cooking oil. This happens to be a canola oil. Add them directly in. We're gonna add this, and I'm gonna add it in kind of some steps so that I don't have as much craziness as I anticipate. So I'm gonna give that a minute or so to let that oil kind of warm up, because it needs to heat, right, Chuck? Mm-hmm. And this is going to be done on high, so it takes about 8 to 10 minutes for everything to cook really well. And I'm hoping I don't need another can of gas, because I didn't check to see how full my can was before we started. But if it stops cooking, we know I need a new can of gas, right? Yep. So this heats up relatively quick. So the first thing we're going to add to our pan is going to be the veg. We've got our carrots, our sweet potato, our cabbage, and our onion, and the green onion. I put the tops of the green or the bottoms of the green onion in at this point. The tops are over here. I'll probably put them in a little bit later. So when she puts this in, everything is all together. Unfortunately, mine is not. So I'm going to start adding a little bit of this sauce since our meat already has it, so I can start getting it kind of mixed up a little bit. Obviously, once I add everything in, it's going to cook a lot faster and quicker, but I want to kind of get a little bit of this, and everything is jumping out, but it's coming back because it hasn't been on the table that long.
5-second rule.
There you go. All right, I'm gonna throw my rice cake in there. I already kind of heated them up a little bit. All right, and then time for the chicken. All right, just trying to get all of that good sauce out of the container. And now we are going to take the rest of this sauce as well. All right, so the game plan here is going to try and mix some of this up, finish it off with the rest of these sesame seeds, so we'll get ours in there too. Don't worry, if we need more, I have more. So we're probably going to have to take some of this out to put the cheese through the center. What do you think, Chuck?
Yeah. Unfortunately, Melissa can't comprehend the concept of cook it in 2 loads. She's got to throw everything in one pot.
I feel like there was an error of judgment in that. Are you judging me?
Totally.
I'm making you homemade dinner. Don't judge me. Do you want the green onions when it's done?
Yeah, closer to when it's done. All right, so after some mild executive decision making, we got too much stuff in one pot, so we're going to break the other stove out here and split the load.
Hey, this is why we have 2 of these, because we know I have issues. Actually, I didn't think about it when I put it in. I was like, it's going to cook down a little bit. It's not going to cook down as much as I had hoped it would.
Well, as a hot pot, it would probably work, because that would still be way too much food as a hot pot, but
it would have cooked down more as a hot pot.
It would have cooked down more, but it's designed to be that much food.
Well, again, like I said, my game plan was for this to be more than 1 meal. This is at least 2, 3.
This should be more like at least 3, yeah.
Maybe 4.
So, in case anybody was wondering, we manhandle the camera here. What we're kind of going for is you want about, what do you say, about 1/3 to 1/2 of the pan wall. Yeah. Kind of a thick layer, and you want to cook that, because if you're doing it, you know, the good and tasty way, when it's done cooking, you're going to want to split it down the center and run a great big old glop of cheese down the middle of it.
Do you think I have enough cheese?
Dak Galbi with cheese is the goodness.
The question is there enough cheese?
There's never enough cheese.
Okay, well, I have a whole nother thing of this I can shred.
All right, so pan number 2, we've gone ahead and shut off. It's cooked most of the way through, and we're going to let it sit in its steam there for a little bit. We don't want to cook it too much, because if that's the one we're going to warm up tomorrow for leftovers or whatnot, you don't want everything to be soggy and squishy. So we're going to let that sit and steam for a few minutes, and then we'll put it in the fridge.
This one I kind of want to get a little bit...
Yeah, that one's going to be the one we're eating, so you want it to be a little...
I want a little... Is it bad to say I want a little char on the veg?
You want a little crispy?
I want a little crispy. So I'm gonna stop mixing it for a minute and give it a second.
Just turn the heat down. We don't want to squish the cheese.
Oh yeah.
Obviously the cheese on the bottom is gonna get a little more crisp to it, probably. A little more
crispy to it, yeah.
All right, are you good with that amount of cheese?
Yep, throw the green onions in on it too. That should be about time. Look at that.
It's lovely.
Nice and melty.
It's lovely.
All right, so we've got some cheesy toque, we've got some microwave rice, we've got an adult beverage.
Look, so just so you know, the bowls are there just so you have something to put under the food as you're digging it out of here.
Yeah, in Korean, especially like with this kind of food, this is not considered single person food. This is party.
You couldn't do this as single person food because how you get your cheese out the cheese trough?
Well, yeah. But if you go to a restaurant, you order something like Dak Galbi or budae or
many things,
gamjitang, you're going to get a pot. It's not for one person. So you're supposed to eat out of the pot, and your bowl is just for you to not get stuff on the table.
So cheese tteokbokki in cheese, is that like cheese inception? What do you think?
Don't know, but good is what it should be.
Look, that's got a little crisp on it.
I get my cheese roll. Cheese roll. Cheesy stretch. I need some scissors for the cheese.
Cheesy token cheese is really good.
Chicken's good. Carrots are good. We got taters or something in here.
Sweet potatoes.
Sweet potatoes and onions.
And cabbage. All right, y'all. I'm in like cheese, like heaven. In your opinion, do you think we could have gone for that extra half a tablespoon of gochugaru? Or do you think I'm right on the point for us? We know you can do spicier
I'd
than
be
me.
fine with it, but I think this is probably right about where you needed to stop with it. Once you eat it down to a certain point in a restaurant, depending on the restaurant, they'll generally do one of two things. They will either come add some water and some ramen noodles into it, which makes kind of a chunky ramen, or they will come and they will throw some rice and usually some seaweed, unless you can tell them not to put the seaweed in it. We don't like seaweed. And then they'll turn the heat up and they'll fry it and they'll make a fried rice out of it. So this is the problem of you have to turn the heat off so that you don't overcook all the food in there. But at some point your cheese starts to coagulate. It's got a good crisp on the bottom.
That's
of it,
a good crisp on that cheese, though. You don't want it, put it back. I'll take it.
Chicken, sweet potato, and cheese, or Asian sweet potato and
Losing my
cheese,
chicken over here.
is a combo you have to experience. All right, so we've tossed the rice in and turned the heat back on.
Do a little more cheese.
Let's wait till I get this a little mixed up, and then we'll...
So at this point, normally they would add kimchi and
they throw
maybe
this.
egg.
Oh, shit,
Dang.
sorry.
That was flying rice instead of fried rice.
Just gonna mix that up, get sauce and cheese and meat all up on that rice.
You ready for some cheese?
Get it together here. Sprinkle it over the top.
Of course not.
Put the lid on, give it a few seconds to steam. Melt the cheesy cheese. It's not quite steamed through yet, but I don't want to burn the bottom of the...
No, you need to flip it because you don't want to burn the bottom.
All right, go ahead and kill it.
It is killed. Dang,
So-
that looks good.
Now we've got cheesy chickeny fried rice.
Is this like dessert?
This is dessert.
I'm just going to wipe that off.
This is how you do dessert in Korea. You make another dish out of your main dish.
I'm not mad.
That's good. It's hot too. Woo. Just imagine, I just had fire on it. It's hot. Woo. That was a severe brainwave move. All right, so we're going to finish up our dessert and then feed the whiny ones. So, like, subscribe, do the internet stuff.